My original background was marketing. I literally fell out of university into the marketing business, initially in events, and developed a career which I never knew existed, to be honest, and wound up marketing all sorts of things to all sorts of people, eventually establishing my own agency. And that more recently, so about 5 years ago, I think in something akin to a midlife crisis, I decided I wanted to go and stretch my legs, and got into various consultancy roles, some pro bono with charities and not-for-profits, some mentoring with startups in a number of sectors, including the tech sector. One of those startups in particular was working with EEG technology, so looking at electrical activity in the brain, and this exposed me to the whole world of wearable brain imaging. Wearable brain imaging really is a broad term for a number of different technologies. There are various ways to essentially look at what's going on inside your head. You're really looking at brain activity or activation of certain areas of the brain in different ways. So you can look at the key two really are EEG, which looks at electrical activity and measures those certain waves and frequencies of electrical activity in the brain, and infers things like levels of focus or how sleepy you might be. You can measure your sleep, or basically anything which is a function of the brain you can measure using EEG as one option, and then functional near-infrared spectroscopy, which is what FC Labs works with, looks at blood flow and blood oxygenation and deoxygenation levels. Wearable brain imaging is really quite new, actually, and there's not many devices, we would potentially say there aren't any, which are genuinely wearable. There are portable solutions out there which tend to be used for academic and clinical research, but they do tend to be, whether it's EEG or FNIRS, tend to be quite big helmets, essentially. So it's definitely portable rather than wearable. So very difficult to take brain imaging out into the real world. And there are developments in those academic and clinical research areas, but we're really taking it a step further and working on solutions which you can wear anywhere, whatever you happen to be doing. And it's really a wear and forget. So what we do is, by reducing the number of sensors, miniaturizing them, we can produce, as we are with our first device, Float, focus in on something like mental attention, just with a single sensor, very, very small, very lightweight, minimal battery power required. So you can put it on and leave it there for hours, days. You don't need to constantly recharge it. What we've defined as the hard hat sector. So it tends to be characterized by the need, the legal requirements, in fact, to wear a hard hat. So it's an indicator of a high degree of risk, obviously, but it also provides us with a handy substrate to attach our technology to. One of the key barriers really to any wearable technology, and lots of people have found this in lots of sectors, is if you're asking somebody to wear something that they're not already wearing, that's a barrier to adoption. And particularly with asking people to wear things on their head, is a wristwatch is one thing, but asking somebody to wear a headband or a hat or something is particularly inconvenient, and would be an issue in terms of adoption. So we've focused in on particularly this hard hat sector, as we call it, because we do have that high degree of risk and appreciation of that risk from those customers, those people in those sectors, and this hard hat, which we can either embed or integrate or attach our device to, so that you just put your hard hat on as you normally would. So our aim with this, as I was mentioning before, is to really simplify the experience. So the technology we're working with could give you all sorts of incredibly detailed insights into what's going on inside the brain. What we're trying to do is simplify it down so that it achieves a price point, most importantly, actually, so that as many people can use it as possible. But really, we equate it to a canary down the mind. We're exactly the same with Float. We're aiming to give an early warning of when mental attention levels are either declining or lapsing to a degree which could be of concern. We're not aiming to really do anything other than that. The data it could be tracked long term. It could be used to identify the optimum shift patterns, for example. One of our biggest challenges is speaking to people who get so excited by the potential for their particular sector. So we've had discussions with healthcare, for example, where we were initially thinking of those high risk roles, such as surgeons or anaesthetists, where if they make a mistake, then the results can be pretty catastrophic. And those areas are very much where Float could be applied. But interestingly, the healthcare sector was far more interested in that broad application of the effect of wearable tech, giving people insights into their mental attention levels and how it's changing over time, and encouraging them to be more aware and to self-manage, to take breaks. People have approached us and said this could be really good for something like banking or financial services or call centers even. We have what we call a research unit. So this is our second stage proof of concept, I suppose, is the best way to describe it. So it's a research unit which we've developed. So we have our own sensors, which we've designed and had manufactured, and we can connect as many together as we want and attach them to, essentially it's a neoprene, it's a bit like a swimming cap, really. So we can attach those through holes and position the sensors anywhere we want to, in any quantity we want to. And that's been used at the moment for a piece of research to identify the very, very best place to position our single sensor, we hope, to measure mental attention, which is Float's specific sort of brain activity that we're looking to measure. So we should have that completed by the end of August, at which point we move into a 12-month project working with the University of Stirling to develop our first fully functional, works like prototype. We feel like we're really making good progress, and aim to be launching, going out to the public with it by the end of next year, in a kind of a beta phase, and then fully launch in early 2023. The simplicity of the process was incredibly attractive, and I was aware of the startup series. I have been for a number of years. I've known people who've applied. Some have been successful, some not. So I'd heard very good things, and really as the first thing that I did in terms of looking for external funding, it was right up there, and one of the, as I say, the primary appeal of it was how simple and approachable the process was compared to many others. I've become very familiar with the grant funding process, for example, which is fantastic. The amount of support that's available to startups in all kinds of sectors is fantastic. Actually, it's amazing. As somebody who's relatively new to this area, it's been great. Fantastic support and the networking and everything else. But with the startup series, that was something which I approached with a degree of trepidation in terms of dealing with external investors. But the startup series made it so simple, so approachable. And I remember commenting to Paul and Mathew, actually, that I wish all investment competitions could be like this. Both Paul and Mathew's backgrounds and experience was really appealing, actually, in terms of entering the startup series and in terms of the investment and them coming on board. It can be quite, you hear it so often from founders and entrepreneurs that it's a very lonely existence at times. And even when you have, as we do, FC Labs has got a fantastic team, and we wouldn't be where we are without them. But it can still be a lonely place when you're as I am, a sole founder. I don't have co-founders, and this tech startup world is, as I say, still relatively new to me. So having somebody like Worth Capital, like Paul and Mathew, to not exactly hold your hand, but certainly give you a steer in the right direction, that level of mentorship is fantastic. They're always there if you've got any questions, any concerns. It's a real comfort to have them, and really gives me confidence in the future of FC Labs. Go for it. Don't think twice, to be honest. I know that the team, Hayley, Paul and Mathew, will be more than happy to chat to people. If you're unsure whether you're ready or not, just speak to them, and they'll not want to waste your time. But if you've got an idea, if they like the sound of, then there's that support even at the early stage, and that encouragement to pull together what you need to apply, which is, as I said before, it's nowhere near the hoops that you need to jump through for certain other competitions and grant funding. It's not something that anybody should worry too much about. The two key ones, to be honest, are end of August for the testing and validation process of our research unit being completed, and then 12 months on from that, the development of our fully functional looks like, works like prototype, at which point, as I say, would essentially at that pre-production, pre-launch stage. So that would be exceptionally exciting. So it seems so long away, but 12 months absolutely flies by.